Good morning, friends, and welcome to another class. In today's episode, we will be looking at the periodic table. I believe we can start now. We know about elements, we also know about atoms, and we know that elements are made up of atoms. Sorry. Now, these elements, we have about 180 of them that exist. Some of them exist naturally, whilst others were manufactured in the laboratory by scientists. Now, whether these elements were manufactured by scientists or they exist naturally, all of them are put together and placed on a table, and that is the table we refer to as the periodic table. So, simply put, the periodic table is a table that contains all of the elements that anybody who is interested in chemistry will be using at a point in their life. So, that's what a periodic table is. And it looks like this. Now, as you can see, it contains all of the elements. Now, for those of you doing integrated science, you will not need to bother your head with all of these elements. You need to at least master the elements in the first 20 elements with other few elements. Of course, our friends doing elective chemistry would have to necessarily study these elements on the periodic table. So I've come up with a simplified version of the periodic table, and that is this one. It's quite simple compared to the main periodic table. And here, at least you can find the first 20 elements and some other elements. Although the other elements that those of you doing integrated science would also have to know, but are not here. For example, copper, iron, zinc, uh, manganese. You need to know some of these elements, but they are not here. Now, the purpose of today's lesson is to look at three main things. So, first, we're going to look at how elements are arranged on the periodic table. So, when I talk about arrangement of elements, we're going to look at the vertical arrangement of the elements as well as the horizontal arrangement of elements. So, that's the first thing we'll be looking at. Then, we'll be looking at the states of the elements. So, we look at those that are solids, those that are liquids, then those that are gases. When we are done with that, we finally look at the elements that are metallic, those that are non-metallic, then those that are semi-metals, between metals and non-metals. We call them the metalloids. So basically, that's what we're going to look at. Okay, I believe we can start. So we'll start by looking at the arrangement of elements on the periodic table. As you can see, some of the elements, in fact, the elements are either arranged vertically or they are arranged horizontally. When you talk about vertical arrangement, we have one, we have two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight vertical arrangement on this simplified periodic table. On the main periodic table, you have more than eight. In fact, you have about 18 of the vertical arrangement. And it's all because of the middle element we call the transition metals. You don't need to worry your head about them. You can just focus on this simplified version. So on this simplified version of the periodic table, we have eight vertical arrangements. And we call these vertical arrangements the groups of the periodic table. So we have group 1 that contains elements such as hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium. You can have group 2, you have elements like beryllium, magnesium, calcium. Group 3, we have elements like boron, aluminium, gallium. You can even have elements in group 7, and here you have fluorine, chlorine, bromine. Element in group 8, we have helium, neon, argon, krypton. So all of these are groups. So groups simply refers to the physical arrangement of elements on the periodic table. We are done with groups. Let's look at the periods. Now period, so that's one period, another period, another period, another period. We have more than 4 periods. When you go to the main periodic table, you realize that you have more than 4 periods. But this is the simplified version of the periodic table. So in period 1, we have elements like hydrogen and helium. They are in line. So that's the horizontal arrangement of elements. Period simply refers to the horizontal arrangement of elements on the periodic table. In period 2, we have elements like lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. In period 3, we have sodium, magnesium, aluminium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, and argon. These these are the periods of the periodic table, and they refer to the horizontal arrangement of elements on the periodic table. So you need to remember what groups are and what periods are. In an episode after this one, we'll be looking at why elements are in a particular period, why some elements are in a particular group. That after this episode, we'll do a video, and in that video, we'll be explaining that. But now you need to understand about what periods are and what. Let's move on to the next item. So in the next item, we'll be looking at the state of the elements on the periodic table. And here we'll be looking at the solid, liquid, and gases. Now, let's go to the main periodic table. On the main periodic table, the let me circle bromine and mercury. These are the two main liquid elements on the periodic table. And they are liquids under standard conditions of temperature and pressure. Apart from these two, we don't have any other liquid. And please remember the words standard conditions of temperature and pressure. Under these conditions, these two are liquids. So we are done with liquids. Let's move on to gases. Gases, all the elements in this group, in this bigger periodic table, group 18, in this smaller periodic table, group 8. So all of the elements in group 8 are all gases. We call them the inert gases. All of them are gases. And in addition to these inert gases, we have other elements like hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and chlorine. Now let's go back to the main periodic table. Let me underline or circle bromine and iodine again. These two elements, we've already established that bromine is liquid under standard conditions of temperature and pressure. However, bromine and iodine are still sometimes considered as gases because of a property that they possess, and that is they have higher vapor pressure. Because they have higher vapor pressure, they are sometimes considered gases. So we know what the gases are, we know what the liquids are. What it means is that the rest of the elements are solid. And in fact, majority of the elements are solids. So you need to remember that almost most of the elements, only few of them are gases. Majority of the elements, they are solids. Let's go back to the simplified periodic table. So you can have lithium, beryllium, sodium, you can have silicon, boron. All of these elements are solids. So please you need to at least be able to know some of the examples of solids, liquids and gases. Alright. You need to know them. Now let's move on to the final session where we're going to look at those that are metals, those that are non-metals. I will start with the semi-metals. Realize that I've labeled some of the elements with the yellow ink. Those in yellow color are what we call the semi-metals. They are metalloids. They are in between the properties of metals and non-metals. So as you can even see on this periodic table, you find them between the two. Those in white are non-metals. So you see the white element on the right side of the yellow element. So all of the elements on the right side of the yellow element and written in white are non-metals, with the exception of hydrogen. Hydrogen is also a non-metal, but it's on the left side of the yellow element. So hydrogen, remember, is a non-metal. That's why it's in white color. All of the elements in blue are metals. And please, for the semi-metals, at least you should know about boron and silicon. Silicon and boron are semi-metals or metalloids. You need to know them. As for the metals, you can remember a lot of them. Lithium, beryllium, magnesium, aluminum, they are metals. As for magnesium and aluminum, the name of the names even will tell you that they are metals. For the um, non-metals, you have them in white. So we know what metals are, we know what non-metals are, and we know what the semi-metals are. Now, there are special names given to some of the groups. So group 1, group 2, group 7, and group 8. We're going to look at those special names. For group 1 element, they are also referred to as the alkali metals. So I'll write that. So group 1 elements are also called alkaline metals. The group 2 elements, they are also called the alkaline. Please remember line earth metal. So note the difference between the spellings. One is alkali, one is alkaline. So group 1s are alkali metals, group 2s are alkaline earth metals. Then we move to the group 7 elements. Group 7 elements called the halogens. That's the special name, halogens. Then the group 8 elements are also referred to as the inert gases or the noble gases. So you need to remember these special names given to groups. And I believe that will bring us to the end of today's lesson. Please, thank you very much for watching. And please subscribe to the channel if you've not already done that. And share the video with your friends who are struggling in integrated science. We'll meet again in the next episode. See you.